welcome to today's show. We here at the Legal Edge Coaching Podcast. My name is Trevor, and my other co-host is Shane, and we are excited to bring you today's topic. I'm fired up about it. Shane doesn't actually even know what I want to talk about today, but I'm fired up about it because I get to deal with dumb people sometimes, and I'm excited to talk about that today. So, but don't worry, it's totally relative to the legal field and being a dumb person. So stay tuned for that fun subject.
All right, now I'm intrigued, Trevor. So
I know. Well, before we jump in, man, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. It's I'm up in Charlotte today at the office. I've been up here most of the week. Although I looked out the window when I got to work, and it's a little muggy today. So I'm hopeful that I will be going back to Atlanta this afternoon instead of chilling in Charlotte another day.
Yeah,
So.
it's the weather has been. The weather's interesting. So you know this. I got a new house a couple months ago, and there's this one section of the house that, you don't learn these things until you're in it, and you're kind of living in it. And we're through the middle of the summer, right? And there's this one section of the house, the air conditioning just doesn't work great.
Yeah.
And so we had an HVAC guy come out and look at it, and he's gonna fix it, but he's backed up. And so in the meantime. And the problem is that's the area where my son and my daughter sleep. So it's right by their bedrooms where it's kind of not great. So I went and bought the portable air conditioner from Lowe's. It was like $500 for the thing, but the window, it was too big for the window. So then I'm like, oh shit, what do? I can't, because they have to be half outside the window, half inside, right? So I'm like, I'm not sure what to do here. So you'll love it, Shane. So got this nice home, nice neighborhood, and where this part of the house is, it sits in the front, so it's you can see it from the front. And so I took a cardboard box that we had, and there was some stuff in it. It's from because when we moved, we still haven't unpacked it. So I put it. We have.
You didn't throw the party I told you to throw, did you?
No, dude, I didn't. I did the first time when we first moved back from Hawaii. I did this one. I've had so much going on. It was like I didn't even care. I'm like, we'll unpack whenever we unpack. I don't even care. But one of the unpacked boxes, because I didn't throw the party, took the box, open up we have a deck and a sliding glass door. So I opened the sliding glass door, put the box halfway out of the house, halfway in the house on the deck, and then I put the air conditioner unit on top of it. And then I'm like, shit, now I have this huge opening. What do I do? I can't just leave this big opening in the door. So I'm like, the box that the air conditioner came in would be perfect. So I cut the box apart, got some duct taped the box to cover the opening over it, and so now when you go to, I went out and looked at it this morning because I wanted to see what it looked like. Isn't it? Oh, dude, it's like the biggest eyesore there ever was. But in good news though, when I went up and checked the temperature up in their rooms, it felt great. So it worked. But now my house just looks like I'm in a trailer park.
Do you guys have HOAs out there or no?
Not where I'm at because we're up in the mountains, and there's not. I mean, I have neighbors, but not really, and nobody drives by our house, so it's not like nobody's gonna yell at me. I'm not gonna get any Karen knocking on the door. Excuse me, that's not regulation. You're not allowed to have that there. But it's a pretty ghetto move.
Definitely have that in my neighborhood, and my brother would have it up. He'd be getting cited before he could even get the second box taped to the.
Oh yeah, there'd be somebody knocking on the door. Now, fortunately, I'm free to mess up my house however I want.
All right,
but it looks bad. I'll have to send you a picture, Shane. You'll love it. You're gonna laugh because it looks terrible. Especially the house.
It's funny about those things though. You move in, you find the warm spots, you find the cold spots.
Mm-hmm.
My house in Charlotte, we finally we started cranking it up because it seemed like it was getting cold. It was just freezing.
Right.
And my wife's like, honey, we can't have the thermostat on 76 degrees or 78. I'm like, sure we can. It's our house, babe. If we're cold, we're cold. You had a guy come out and he goes, oh, this thermostat's set wrong. It's set like 6 degrees off. So it's 6 degrees colder than whatever it says. We're like, can you fix it? He goes, no, I can't. You'd have to buy you'd have to spend like $2,000 or something to fix it. He goes, so you're just stuck with it. Just know that 76 is actually 70. Yeah, right. So we finally did. But
what
are we talking about today, Trevor?
Well, today is I had an interesting experience with a person, and it's all around arrogance, right? Around arrogance. So here's the setting, right? I'm on a call, and this person needs help, And as I'm sitting there in this conversation with him, he's distracted. He's not paying attention. He's just, and he won't listen. He won't hear it. And it was interesting as I kind of dissected this after. I'm listening to this guy, and I'm like, there's so often that we all need a lot of help. Like, I need help all the time. Shane, you need help. Like, nobody's immune from it. And if anyone, right, anyone that maybe shouldn't need help, right, is that successful person who's made the money, who has the life. You're like, hey, I don't need help because I've arrived, right? That's what people at least think, even though that's total bullshit. But this particular person, and I'm going to keep it super vague on purpose because I'm pretty sure there's a possibility they listen to the show. But we
didn't talk yesterday, did we, Trevor?
No, we didn't talk yesterday.
Okay, good. I want to make sure it wasn't me.
Yeah. Nope. Dude, that would be the greatest. I'm like, so I got this client that I was working with.
Guy.
I start describing you. No, it wasn't you. So, but he just, it got to a head, and I called him on it. All right. I called him out and I said, listen, you either decide to get here and be here right now and listen to what we're talking about, or just go away. And this is one of the first times it's happened. I gave him a choice, right? But the choice wasn't really go away, even though I did present that as a choice. Yeah. He stares at the camera for a second, and all of a sudden his screen just blacks out and he's gone. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay. That's a choice. That's a choice. That's not going to get you what you want. And then he proceeds to I tried calling him. He didn't answer. And then about 2 hours later, he sends me an email giving me advice on how to be a leader and a mentor and to not call people out because it's uncomfortable. Yeah. So, and this is somebody that's not used to me. That was the second time, maybe third time I've been on a call with them. And so they're not used to my intensity, and sometimes I can punch hard if you're kind of being a dipshit. I'll push you because I want you to grow and learn and expand. But it was just interesting. I've constantly reflected. First, I was pissed. Like when he sent the email trying to basically tell me how to be a leader and a coach and a mentor. I'm like, oh, dude, you don't even know. I wanted to. It's good it wasn't in person because I probably would have popped out. But I ultimately didn't even reply to the email. I was like, I'm not engaging in this at all. I'm like, whatever, this is silly. But it just made me reflect on how often we screw ourselves over when we need help. We need guidance. We can't see the whole picture, but our ego is so big. We think we have to be right so much that we don't accept the help from somebody who's sitting in a position where they would be able to just give you some guidance or some assistance in a direction that would actually move you to the next step in the thing you're trying to build. It's like it's just weird. And I know we all do it. And I'm not even coming at this guy because I know I've done the same thing. I'm confident of it. Probably hundreds of times, right? Because I think a lot of his arrogance I could see in him. I'm like, dude, that was me when I was 20. I'm like, totally see that. Like that was me showing up to seminars and events, and guys that actually knew what they were talking about would say something, but I just couldn't hear it because I'm like, no, that can't be. I know the way. I'm the young, the young buck coming up. I got this handled. I don't care that you're 30 years older than me and you've been doing this for 20 years longer than me. Somehow I know more than you. And I don't know how often you've faced that, Shane. You have to face that with your team members and stuff all the time. But it was wild.
It does, and it's always challenging when it happens, right? And I probably see it the most, honestly. I see it with people who they get some success and then they shut everything off, right? Like, so you've got people in that beginning phase when they don't know anything, and then they're very receptive to their coach and they start listening, and then they hit this zone. And I'm saying it's usually like 2 or 3 or 4 years in, right, where they're like, dude, I know everything.
Yeah.
I don't need a coach. I know everything. I've had some success, right? Now, you had success from a coach who was telling you what to do, or a mentor, whatever you want to call it. Somebody usually gave you a helping hand and pointed you in the right direction. So you follow along, you start getting some success, and then suddenly you're like, hey, I know everything. I don't need it anymore. And so I run into it. I don't want to say quite often, but often enough is what I would say. And it's always frustrating for me because you're like, I know people helped you get here,
Mm-hmm.
What makes you think you don't need, you know what I mean? That suddenly you know everything and you don't need an expert, right? Like this guy, he just didn't want to hear what was going on.
Yeah, he was just in his own little space. And I think we could replace the word coach or mentor with boss or leader.
Yeah.
All right, because it's all the same thing. If you like, all of you guys, obviously, most of our listeners, you guys are all you own your law firm, right? Or you're at least a supervisor, an attorney that's supervising other people. And in that case, whether you wanted it or not, you are a coach and a mentor of whoever is your subordinate. And so in that space, it's kind of a tricky thing to balance, because if you can't figure out how to get through to someone like that and help them develop, they won't last, right? Inside your organization, these are the people that had high potential, but they come in and they're like a cultural mismatch, right? They're rubbing everybody the wrong way. Everybody's kind of annoyed with them, and they might be good. And that's what's so interesting too is what is the phrase? I love this from some guy like on YouTube. Hard work beats talent, right? Yep. That's kind of his catchphrase. And I kind of translate in this situation to, I don't care how good you are, if you are not coachable and you're not able to meld in with the culture of the firm, you're not going to last. I don't care how good you are. Like there's a point at which, now you might tolerate a few little things. I get it. We all do it. We'll tolerate some bullshit attitudes or some things if they're a really high performer, because it's tough, right? What are you going to do? Fire them? They make you money.
I was going to say, especially when you're in the law firm, or I'll say any business owner phase, and you got somebody who's making you good money.
Yeah.
You're like, ooh. And I think that's the issue, right? Balancing that out on your people. The amount of stuff you'll put up with versus usually the income or revenue they're generating.
Yeah.
And it's just an issue, right? It's a thing. But, I mean, we've also had clients that way, right? Where you're talking about it, and you'll put up with more depending on where they're at. Like in the coaching space, how painful is it to coach this person, and versus how much revenue do they get, and are they super frustrating or not? I mean, it's always a balancing act, from manager also to boss to coach to mentor to all of it. And you could even say parent, right? Because we'll put up with a lot of stuff from our parent or from our kids that we wouldn't from anyone else in the world. Because
well, what are you gonna do? Fire them?
Yeah.
You're gonna fire your kid? I mean, I guess that could be a thing. There's people that do crazy stuff like that.
There is people that do that. I'm sure on the listening to the podcast right now, there's somebody who could say, "Yeah, I fired my kid."
Yeah, I fired them. I kicked them out. And they were done. So I got fired as a kid. So I guess it's not that. At 16 years old, my parents said, "You're done. We're done with you." And I literally lived we had this copy store in our town that was called Honor Copy, and it was open 24 hours a day. And there was no one that worked there. It was literally, you could go into this copy store. It had copy machines, printers, papers, all that. So picture like a really small, just a copy center of like a Staples. That's what was there, but no one worked there. So you'd come in, and this was like before Venmo and all that kind of stuff. So to pay, they had this little lockbox, and you would write this little ticket down. And so anyhow, this thing's totally unmanned, right? Open 24 hours a day. So when I first got kicked out, I went to a friend's house, and I lasted about a week there before his parents kicked me out. And they were like, "You can't stay here. We got." So then I was on my own. I literally had nowhere to stay. So I slept at the Honor Copy, and I would go there at night, would like late, like it'd be like, hoping no one would come make some copies. Usually around like midnight. And then I would go, and they had the main area, and then they had this little hallway that led to a bathroom. So I would go to the hallway because it was you couldn't see the hallway from the front of the store. Yeah. I'd go to the hallway. I'm trying to think. I didn't have a pillow, but I did have a blanket. So I would lay and I would sleep. And then I would wake up I don't even remember what time I would wake up, but it was early. I would get up, and then I would go drive to the high school, and they had it was called the natatorium, which was like the swimming pool and all that, the showers and stuff. And I would go shower at the natatorium. I'd get dressed in the natatorium, and then I would go to school. So, and this was all, so that gives you some income. I wasn't the nicest kid growing up. So I did get fired from my parents did fire me because they couldn't put up with my shit. Yeah. But, we have a great relationship now, and we've had a great relationship for a long time. I love my mom, love my dad, and I don't blame them, to be totally honest. Like, I look back and I'm like, you know what? I'd have probably fired me sooner than you guys did. So hats off to you for keeping this this lame employee around as long as you did.
Let me stay as long as I did, huh? I probably deserved it faster. Huh?
Yeah, I did. But you know, it's interesting because it kind of brings up another point I was thinking about as you were just talking just a second ago of we will tolerate things if we feel like we have to, right? So if you've built a company that's kind of relying on one or two people, you're going to keep them around because they quote unquote make you good money, and the fear of losing that money is more than the fear of breaking the culture and not allowing you to actually scale and build a business that you really want, because you don't want to ever be held hostage by an employee. Nobody wants that. Like, it's not like you start out that way and you're like, well, I'm going to hire one great person and then they're going to basically tell me what's up, because if I lose them, I lose half my revenue because they're so damn good at selling, but they're an asshole, right? So then you tolerate, but you only are tolerating it because you don't think there's another option, or your business is built in such a way that they are a key employee. So I think that also kind of exposes, if you feel but if you feel like you're in that position, there's this, like I've 100% been in that position, and I know his name's Colton, great guy, but totally held me hostage. He didn't even try to do it. He wasn't trying to be vindictive or whatever, but he wanted more money and he wanted some different things, and he kind of demanded them. And I had no options. And I realized, I remember sitting there as he's talking to me, because I'm like, if he leaves, I've built my whole everything around what he does, and I don't have someone it's not like there's another person that could just step in. It would be me having to step back in, which from a business side, I was like, I would have to go backwards. That's not what I want. I'm not trying to do that. But I realized, and he demanded more money in a nice way. Like I said, he wasn't even he wasn't like this entitled person. He was just like, hey, I do this and this and this, and I know how much, and I know, and I'm like, shit, you're right, you do all those things, and when you want another, basically double your salary. Shit, all right, and at that time of the position, I didn't have any. I'm like, okay, so I'm like, I agree, let's do it. We came to we negotiated a little, but came to a figure. And then from that point, I was like, I got to restructure the whole thing, because I realized how exposed I actually was.
And you get that, right? Like I had a mentor years ago. He said the most dangerous number is one. You know, right? He never wanted one person who did anything, or one star salesman, or even one printer. You know, he did it for equipment and people. He's like, I never want to be dependent on one that can fail or leave or break or whatever. And we've been that way on equipment in the office too, right? Because heck, that postage machine, costs a bunch of money. So you only buy one, because who needs two postage machines? Right. Well, you only need two when one is broke. Mm-hmm. And then you need that second one pretty bad.
Well, then you see the urgency of it, right? Yeah. And then you're like, and then trying to do something about it in that moment is a problem.
Or you've got one star employee, like you say, right? You had Colton. He was, the main guy. I've had one attorney who was spectacular, and sometimes, and you're like, ooh, tough to replace this person. They're like a superstar. Yeah,
and which I think is, it's like, it's not, because I think the distinction is, it's not they're saying, hey, you got you got to be worried if you have one higher performer. It's the only one. I love that idea. If you have the one person that could hold you, it's like a lot of times this happens in some of your back office operations, right? This is typical, right? You have like one accountant or one bookkeeper or one person who understands this SOP. Maybe it's your CRM, right? And you have literally just one person who handles the whole flow of, Clio or whatever it is that you're using, and they quit. Right. And then, or they're a problem, and you want to fire them because they're a problem culturally, and they're holding you hostage, and they're an asshole, and nobody likes them, and nobody likes to deal with them. But if you fire them or they quit, you realize you're doomed, because you don't even know how to load a new lead into the system or whatever. And I think it's good to look at that and kind of assess where you're at as in an organization, realizing and just go through it line by line, person by person. If this person quit, if they were gone today, what would happen? Like, no matter, most people would probably create an impact, but the impact you're looking for is not the whole system shuts down. Like, all flow stops because this person's not there. And I think when you're smaller, that's much harder. Like, it is. When you look at growing your firm, like when you're growing, like, how did you manage that type of a thing? Was it did you even think about it, or was it just?
The issue when I was smaller was I had done everything, right? So like I came in and started the firm from scratch. So, I remember the days when I was taking intake calls, right? I was doing all that kind of stuff, or doing the books, or doing the accounting, or doing payroll. So I didn't do my own accounting ever, right? Filed my tax returns. I had an accountant for that.
Right.
But like payroll, for a while I did it and paid the expense checks and all those things. So I knew how to do everything in the firm. So as we're building, I didn't have that huge issue. But what we did run into a lot is if that person quit, I had to step in, or my wife had to step in, right? Like my wife for years did the books, and then we got one other person to do the books. But guess what? If they were out, my wife was there.
Yep.
If the intake person was out, I might be doing intake for the day. So those are the issues. I didn't build with it. It just sort of happened, and I didn't see a way around it. Like like a lot of our folks, it's like, well, I don't need two bookkeepers, right? Yeah. What's the solution? And it's tough, right? I think the solution is either be comfortable knowing there's a weakness or grow. And that's it. That's the only solution you can do. And it's super hard. I mean, we see it in law firms with, the back office accounting, right? Who's doing all that? Payroll is another big issue. Sometimes they're the same, or sometimes they're not. Subrogation, that comes in a lot. But a bigger issue, I think, is when you got your law firm and the lawyer doesn't speak another language, and then you spend a significant amount of your marketing to bring in those clients that speak that other language because you've got one or two staff members who speak it, right?
Right.
And I see it a lot in the Hispanic market where, they're like, oh, this is a great opportunity. They go in, but they don't. The lawyer doesn't speak Spanish. Their main paralegal doesn't speak Spanish, so they bring on one or two people who do. And then what happens? That person leaves, and now you've got a huge issue because your team doesn't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
But like you say, you build your firm towards that. I know people who've done that. Small firms, two lawyers on the thing. The main one doesn't speak Spanish. The associate does, and the associate leaves. And suddenly the lawyer's got 100 clients that speak Spanish. That's a problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're like, you better get hooked on phonics or whatever it is. What's Rosetta Stone and learn some Spanish pretty damn quick.
Yeah, I mean you're in a real pinch. For us, it's happened with signing checks, right? That's still an issue we struggle with, right? Signage, and we're a bigger firm. Who can sign the checks? If I go on vacation for 2 weeks, who's paying the clients? Who's paying the expense bills? Who's handling all that kind of stuff? And then what I find is in a smaller firm in particular, they just designate somebody to do it, but they maybe not cross-train them enough, or they don't, they were taught how to do it 6 months ago or a year ago, but they haven't been back in it since, right? So they're not really cross-trained, or it's just chaotic. I mean, it's tough. I don't think there's an easy solution on this issue, Trevor, other than be aware, don't deliberately do this, right? Like we still don't. We don't do IT in-house because I was worried about that particular issue. Right? You get one person and then they leave. And what if they leave on bad terms? Suddenly you're locked out of all your stuff, or, things go down and you can't do anything. So, I mean, that's why we've always had a company do that, is because I don't feel like I need two IT people, and I refuse to be stuck with, tied to one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Well, I think you hit it nail on the head. It's just being aware, because you're right. This isn't like the kind of problem that you can just magically solve. But I think that where attorneys and law firm owners, where you guys will get stuck, where I got stuck, where you've been stuck, is when you're not aware of that and you build yourself into that place. And then you're like, right? I know back in the day when we were kind of putting together some different material that you and I were using and going through your origin story about the attorney that walked away and said she had all her shit handled, and all of a sudden, and that's you go in and you're like, what the hell? No, you don't. You don't have anything handled. You didn't give me any notes, and realizing, oh my gosh, like what a nightmare. But until something like that happens to you, that you basically get your ass handed to you, and you're like, wow, okay, that you don't know. And I think that's the key, is just being aware of it and building in a way, as you grow and scale, to where that is conscious thought, so you don't accidentally build yourself into a dead end with one person, and you rely on them heavily. And these are, I mean, you've had it happen. I know I've had it happen where the person you thought would be with you till the end of time, that they're never going anywhere. They love me. I love them. I give their family presents. They come over for and all of a sudden they quit, and you're like, what the hell? And they're like, well, I have this other thing, and I want to do, and if you relied on them heavily as though they were like a co-owner or a partner or something like that, and then they leave, you're like, oh, shoot, right?
And we've seen it destroy law firms. I mean, we've seen the two-man law firm or two-woman law firm, something happens, a lifestyle change, and next thing you know, it tears the firm apart. And I've seen it where working together, they had a decent firm. When you set them both apart, it's just a crumble. Neither one of them ever gets any momentum, and they both go backwards. It pretty much ruins both their lives, right? We see it with divorces. I mean, we see it with, and not even where it's husband and wife running the firm, but where, one of the partners gets in a divorce, and suddenly they're not the same person anymore, right? And it just, this downward spiral, and then the partnership breaks up, and one was the rainmaker, and one was the doer, and neither one of them do well by themselves, right? I mean, so it's a huge issue, and there's no easy answer. All I can say is don't deliberately build yourself into a corner, and if you've got it, try to have a backup plan, right? And sometimes the backup plans aren't good, right? Like when we had a bunch of Spanish, the backup plan was, I guess we're running Indeed ads, right? And we had this translation service. It's a bad plan, but it was a plan. It allowed us to pivot.
Once you're in that position, you got to do what you got to do to build out, and and that's the key. But what I want, and this is the thing for like to full circle to what started the call as we end, or a conversation as we end today, is right. You don't want to be held hostage by anybody. You want to be able to make moves as a business that make sense for the business, not that you need to make, but you can't do it because you're being held hostage. And so if like the guy that I was dealing with, he's not an employee that works for me, but let's just say that he was, right? If I needed to make a switch and, there needed to be some discipline, and maybe he needed to go a different way and not be in the organization anymore, the goal is to build in an environment where no matter who it is, you've got the ability to make that decision that's going to be better for growth of the company, not just save you that moment of, I don't know what to do, I've got this person here. And so you guys know it, if you'll just take, like that'd be kind of the action I want you guys to take off after today's show, is really look at your team that you have right now. You might only have a handful, 2 or 3, or it might be closer to where you're at, Shane, right? Like 150, which you're not. This would take a long time to do that if you got that many people in your firm. But you could still do the same thing, Shane, like with just your key people, and like looking at, okay, are these departments structurally set up in a way that if I lost 1 or 2, we're going to be fine? Can I be agile, right? Because as you grow and scale, when it's just you make a decision and you move. When it's 2 people, you make a decision, you tell the other person, and then you move. And then all of a sudden that number starts growing, right? And we start using more hands, and we count it up. Now all of a sudden I got to make a decision, and now you're like a big slow, you're the Titanic. You're like trying to turn. Yeah. And the more agile you can stay, the better. And at being agile is the ability to pivot quickly, and you have to be able to have the ability to make personnel decisions quick and not be held hostage by an employee, especially an arrogant one. I can't stand arrogant people.
All right.
Which is funny because I think I'm kind of arrogant. So it's like I don't like myself, but I do. So it's really weird. I don't know. I can't figure that one out. So. All right. Well,
I was just going to say there's probably some work there you can do, Trevor, but maybe not.
No, I'm sure there is. I work on it constantly. There's this little thing on our phone that I call the stack that we train our clients on. But I use that every single day to figure out why I'm such a crazy lunatic and why I think the way I do and how to be a better person. So if you're not doing that, you should get involved with that. We've got a link down in the description, which you could get access and have a conversation with us and figure out what the hell I'm talking about over at LegalEdgeCoaching.com. But most importantly, if you got value from today's show or any show or the messages that we deliver here, go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe. We really appreciate it. But the biggest thing you can do for us, we don't charge money for the show. We're not trying to make money on the show. Shane and I are just volunteering our time to share lessons that we've learned. We would appreciate a share. So share this show up with somebody you know, somebody that we can value from the show as well. With that being said, though, appreciate you guys being listeners to today's show, and we will see you next week. Scene. All right.
All right.
All right. What we doing another one? Yeah.
I think we're doing another one. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
What do you have a particular subject? I don't really have anything.
you don't have anything else? So,
I mean, I could definitely talk about anything, but yeah, I don't. Not
so
particularly.
I think I was looking at two issues. One is, talking about how the market's down, and what that makes me realize is, do you keep all your money in the firm? How do you balance reinvesting and growing versus pulling some money out to support your family, get rewards there? Or talking about the cost, everything's got a cost either in time or money. And like one of my original things when I bought a follow-up campaign from somebody, you look at it and say, I could figure this out, or I could just buy it and get it implemented right away.
I like that one. I like that idea.
All
yeah.
right. So.
That was a good one. All right. There we go. 3, 2, 1. All right. Welcome to today's show. I'm excited to jump into today's conversation and really dive into the show. If you haven't listened to the show before, if you're a first-time listener, we welcome you. My name's Trevor, and that's Shane, and we are your hosts of the Legal Edge Coaching Podcast. Real quick, do us a huge favor. It really helps us a ton. Give us a like and a subscribe if you have not done that yet. I know some of you guys listen and you haven't done that yet. Shame on you. Give it, hook it up. We do this podcast for free, and this is what we ask in return is that you just help us grow the show and help us grow the audience. So that being said, Shane, how the hell are you, man?
Doing well today, right? It's we're recording this on a Thursday, which is supposed to not be a busy day, but it's usually a busy day for me. Since it wasn't busy like 6 months ago when I had some new stuff come up, what did I do? I slotted it on Thursday afternoon or Thursday morning. So
why not?
My Thursday went from being really open and not busy to now it's pretty busy in the morning. So, but that's okay. I'm in Charlotte today recording some videos and stuff for for all of our social stuff. And, we'll be flying back to Atlanta this afternoon.
Well, for all the listeners who don't know, you're in Charlotte because you have an office there and back in Atlanta, or not
Correct.
Technically Atlanta. Yeah,
it's south of Atlanta in Peachtree City, but we call it Atlanta because nobody knows where Peachtree City is. So
I didn't know what it was before I met you, and now I do. But yeah, we'll keep it Atlanta. But yeah, so you're back and forth with the law firm. So and you're in Charlotte. What's your favorite place to be? Like where do you prefer to work? Do you have one, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter a whole bunch. I mean, right now it's Peachtree City because that's where my wife is, right? So.
Oh, dude, good answer. Good answer.
Well, it is, So, I don't love to be apart from my wife for a long period of time, right? So, sort of my limit is like 3 days and 2 nights is sort of my benchmark. Anything beyond that, and I really got to want to spend time with you, right? So it's got to be one heck of a conference or a mentor, something like that I'm going to be like, okay. So, I've lived in both cities. There are bonuses to both. I liked Charlotte when I was living up here, but my commute was a little longer. But Charlotte was also easier to get to things to do versus Atlanta, where Atlanta everything's an hour 15 minutes to get to. Charlotte was like 30, so that was definitely a plus. I've got a lot more family in Atlanta, so that's a definite plus, and I like that. But Charlotte's a cool little town, I guess it's not little anymore. It continues to get bigger and bigger, but so both places are good. I like both. I like a big, huge desk, right? So my home office is at home in Atlanta. It's got all my stuff. The problem is I don't have all my stuff up here in Charlotte, right? I've built my life that I enjoy it all. So like when I come to Charlotte, I'm staying at usually a hotel or an Airbnb. So there's no gym in the basement. Yeah, it doesn't. But I always think I'm going to have plenty of time to work, and then I get up here and I go to work, and then I go work out at night, and then I eat, and I look up and it's like 9 o'clock. So I feel like when I'm in Charlotte, in my mind, I should have a ton of time to work and do this stuff, and I never do. So I always get a little frustrated when I'm up here.
Got it.
But I also had no dog waking me up to go on a walk this morning at 6 a.m. too.
So did you get up and go on a walk without the dog?
No, I didn't. Why would I do that, Trevor? I already
You've
told you.
reneged on the walk this morning.
I already told you I can't walk without the dog. That's the whole thing. Now, I did pace a little bit, so.
You're like, I did get on a phone call, and I walked back and forth in my office.
That's almost like a walk, Trevor.
totally counts. Totally
You
the
know?
same thing. I'm
You know?
such a huge pacer. It took me so long to figure out how to have a normal conversation and not pace. Like even when I was a kid, remember back in the day, our younger listeners won't remember corded phones, but I remember the corded phone, and we got like an extra long corded phone,
Oh, yeah.
and so then you'd be like talking to, and I remember this in high school. You'd be talking to, usually it was a girl, and I'm talking to a girl, and like I'm like, our phone was in the main room, right, the living room or whatever, like the kitchen area, or whatever, and really long cord. So then you would take the cord and you would try to go to another room because I'm talking to a girl, right? I don't want to be in front of my mom, my dad, or whatever. And then I would go into this and close the door in this other room with the cord in it, and then and then I would just sit and walk back and forth in this little room, and I would twist myself up in the cord. And then I would unravel myself in the corner.
Yeah.
I'd sit right. It gave you some. I mean, for somebody who needs like the fidget toys that they have now for the kids or people, that was my fidget toy for sure. It's that big long cord.
Well,
but I would walk myself into all kind of weird situations with that stupid cord.
Yeah. Well, for years I would only talk to people on speakerphone. Then my team got me a wireless headset, right? Because they said you're driving us all crazy. So then I would just pace with a wireless headset, or I'd stand up. Even on speakerphone, a lot of times I'd stand up. So I'd be standing up talking to people because it just, for me, it carried a different type of energy, right? And usually I can, most of my calls, you can call them sales calls or it's talking to client calls, but either way, there's this, you got to have focus and intensity, and, they're important. So, and it just helped me be in a better frame of mind than sitting down.
It's one, obviously I can't, you and I can't really pace around talk when we're doing the show, and with what I'm sitting in this particular chair literally all day on a microphone like this, talking to clients and different people. And so I had to learn how to have that same energy sitting down and being in this kind of setting as opposed to being able to walk. Because, dude, nothing would give me more pleasure than to stand up right now. Like my door right in front of me is wide open. The mountains right there. I mean, and we have trails everywhere. Just grab my phone and just have the same conversation, just walking through the mountains, which, I just can't do it anymore. So it's kind of funny. So anyhow, no walk this morning. Well, are you gonna have to get it in then?
Oh, I will. When I get back home, the dog will be right on me. So I fly back this afternoon. She'll be right on me, saying, "Let's go for a walk." And
the dog's feeling neglected. Dog's like, "Where the hell Dad go?"
Oh, she is.
What the heck?
And I was gone this weekend too. So I got back in town on Monday. She's like, "Hey, I didn't get a walk for like 4 days." She did, by the way. We had a house sitter or dog sitter who walked her twice a day. So she certainly got her walks in.
She got her exercise. Just not with you, though. It's not the same. It's right. It's not the same. Does your dog, will she, if you say, is there like a key word, if you say leash or walk, does she freak out? Like, does she know what it means?
She, so I'm pretty sure she knows what walk means. But she has some trust issues, right? Like she's like a kid who once it gets near that time, she starts pushing the issues. So you never even get to where we're chilling on the couch and I'm like, "Hey, let's go on a walk." And she's bounce up and goes. Right. She's like, "Hey, it's 6:00. Our nighttime walk could happen anytime between 6 and 9 p.m. It could start now."
Like, let's start. Let's go. We going? Yeah.
And then if I get up if I put my shoes on after like 6, she's like ready to go. And so she's pissed if she doesn't get to go. She's like, "Dude, what the hell?"
Yeah. But you broke the agreement.
And in the mornings, I'll shut my door so she can't come down the hall and wake me up, right? If I'm not getting up at like 6, which is my normal wake up time. Because what she started doing was, if I was getting up at 6, she'd try to wake me up at 5:45. Like, "Hey, Dad, is it time? Is it time?" Right? And then she got trained when the alarm went off, because I wouldn't ever do anything before the alarm went off, right? Because I was trying to train her, don't come in here till the alarm goes off.
Right.
And then it was, as soon as she heard the alarm, she'll come down. Did
it work? Did you get her trained? She won't come in till the alarm goes off?
No, she still comes in. She gets anxious. She's like a kid on Christmas, right? And,
every day is Christmas. Yeah, how simple would that be if Christmas was simply going on a walk?
It'd be
like
great.
If you could have that level of excitement just to go on a walk. I'm like, holy.
You probably are a very present individual, and you're probably happy most of the time, would be my guess.
Oh, 100%. Like, you're in the moment. You are in the moment, and the moment is all that matters until the next moment, and then you're in the moment again. So, yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's make some people better today and dive into some more business savvy, although the dog talk is great. And
Yeah. Well, and it does relate a little bit because, there's a not walking this morning. There's a cost associated with that too, though, right? So I did a
right.
little bit, but the cost is I'm gonna have to walk more later because yeah, we're heading up to Dragon Con. I'm still trying to not cut weight, but tighten up a little bit and all that. So I got to get a certain amount of steps in. I normally get 11,000 steps in a day, so I'm gonna have to get the steps in sometime today anyway.
Yeah.
So by not doing it, there's a cost associated with that, but that rolls right into business too. Like I was telling you, in our last show, we were talking about mentors and getting coached, and where people reach a point to where they don't listen anymore. I remember early on when I had started my firm, one of my mentors was talking about follow-up programs, right? That a prospect comes in, what do you do for that 2-week time period? What's your follow-up process? And I'm like, shoot, I don't have one. And most of the people I know talk about write your own copy, learn copywriting, learn all these things. And I was sitting there and I was looking at it and like, this guy's pitching 14 days worth of stuff, right? Contact with somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not a great copywriter, right? And this is before GPT could assist you. You just have to go on the web and look at kind of stuff. And I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm looking like, I don't know, he listed 2 books on how to write copy, all this stuff, this pile of work to write a decent follow-up thing. Now, 1, I was overcomplicating it. But then 2, I get to the end of his thing, or one of the ads in his newsletter was like, hey, I'll just sell you my follow-up system if you want it.
Right.
And it was like $1,500, I think. And I was like, $1,500 for like 14 letters and emails, that's like $100 a letter or an email. That seems high, right? Now, this is 20 years ago, and I was probably a cheap bastard, but I was looking at it saying, saying that seems pretty high. Maybe I shouldn't do it. Maybe I should. And then I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm just going to buy his because then I can get it implemented and put into my firm. So I did. I just bought it. And this was, this is not stealing. He was selling a product and said, yeah, just cut and paste, modify what you want to, but put it in your system. So I took it and I put it in our system. And and that was pretty much the foundation of my follow-up system for years, right? For like 10 years. And I bump into him like a decade later, and we're talking, and he's talking about my practice because he'd follow it. You know how you follow a little bit, right? And he's like, yeah, you guys have done really well, You've gotten bigger than a lot of our students do. I think I had like 5 or 6 lawyers at the time. So, a decent-sized firm.
Yeah.
And it's like, how's most of your business going, and how are you getting your leads? And I talked about, we were buying leads from lead gen vendors. And he goes, most people can't make that work. How are you doing it? And I laughed because my answer was, I'm using your system that you taught me a decade ago. I mean, I've tweaked it just a little bit, but it's pretty much the same dang thing that you gave me for $1,500. And he's like, holy cow, dude, that's great. And he wasn't mad about it. He was like, that's awesome. So you're doing what I tell you to do. I'm like, yeah, dude, my whole system is based on what you taught me a decade ago. The follow-ups, the calls, the letters and emails we send is all your stuff. And he's like, well, that's great. I'm happy for you. Nobody ever does it, I guess. And I'm like, I guess not. But there's a cost to everything. And when we're business owners, but even private people, and I think the cost, so often we look at only the monetary cost.
Yeah.
Right? It costs a certain amount of money, but there's also the time cost. And the time and opportunity cost, right? Like for me, the time cost to learn how to write copy, even halfway decent, would have taken a lot more than, the $1,500.
Well, dude, there's people that literally spend 10, 12 hours a day writing copy.
And I didn't know it, but his follow-up system was actually written by a great copywriter I know who's a different person, right? So he had paid that guy to write his thing.
Right.
And all above board, but then he packaged it up and sold it to lawyers,
Yeah.
And it was written by a great copywriter. And I even had it audited by another copywriter like 3-4 years later. I was like, hey, see if you can make this better. And the guy looks at it and goes, this is pretty good stuff, man. He goes, I don't feel good charging you much money at all to tweet this,
Right, because I might change an apostrophe.
Yeah, he's like so there. He goes, I don't even want to take the gig. So, people spend their whole life learning how to write copy and advertising.
Yeah, which then begs the question, right? And this is the whole crux of it all, because we all balance this, especially when you're smaller and you're growing and you're looking at that growth. It's like, well, I have the investment, right? You've got the $1,500 or the $1,400 investment into that. If you then compounded your time and you started putting value to your time, how long would it take you to become a good enough copywriter to create an equal product to the $1,400 product? And then you start to evaluate, you're like, well, what's my time worth to do that? And if it takes you, and you got to figure the person that wrote that, they do it 10 to 12 hours a day. That's all they do. That's all they do is write copy, and they've been doing it for probably, if it's really good copy, they've been doing it for 10 years plus, right? So, well, okay, so is it worth you spending the next 10 years to become good enough to write that copy, and then you look at the growth you had in that decade, right, going from where you're at to you're like, the $1,400 probably was worth it. But I think that's really hard in the moment, right?
Especially when you don't have a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at it like the profit of my firm is 10 grand this month or less, and I'm going to give 10 or 15% to this one guy for one product.
Yeah. That you don't have a guarantee it's going to work.
Right.
Right. There's no crystal balls. Because not every copywriter is created equal. And right, if you don't know about copywriting, they could tell you it's really great. They could give you some good testimonials and referrals. But guess what? They're really good at marketing because they write good copy, which means they're using that on you. And so you don't know what the end result's going to ultimately. So yeah, dude, there's a lot of fear that comes into it. But even if it is something that you could do, right? Everybody could write an email, but it does take a while to get good at it. We look at some of these other skills, right? You could learn how to be an excellent salesperson, right? You could learn that skill, or you could hire that skill to come in. You could, let's say, sales scripts and processes, right? How to actually structure when an intake lead comes in, what should the flow be? You can spend the time building it and figure out what exactly do I need to say, or there's companies that will sell you the script.
Right.
They'll sell you the whole entire process. So then that's the evaluation of it's not just the 10 grand that they're charging you for this proven sales process. It's, well, how long is it going to take, and what am I going to actually get out of that? If I do this myself, and where will I be economically different? And I almost look at that too a little bit. It's almost it's like betting on yourself that you're gonna succeed, because it's only an expense if you don't succeed, right? You bought the copy for $1,400. If you don't succeed, then that was an expense, right? It wasn't an investment; it was an expense, and it was kind of just throwing money away. But if you know you're going to succeed, then there's no doubt that $1,400 investment, even if it's not massive, even if you only used it for a year and it wasn't great, but you know that you're going to work hard enough, and you believe in yourself enough as the owner of the firm that $1,400 investment into that copy is at least the next step that's going to push you to the future that you're going after.
And I think that's key too, right? Is because I could order it, boom, and I could have it inside of a week. The whole thing done in a week, and then I spent a week getting it in place for my firm. So in 2 weeks from start to finish, I had a follow-up system in place in the firm that was sending out letters and emails, and I had a sequence to talk to people. Boom, inside of 2 weeks. Whereas I've seen lawyers, you talk to them about a follow-up system, and they say, I'm going to get one of these, and it's going to be that's my quarterly goal, is to get it all. And then what happens is we see them. They struggle all quarter long, and then at the end of the quarter, they still don't have something they've implemented in their firm. Then they want to make the implementation and getting the system in the firm another quarter thing. So now we're 6 months in before you got anything going on. And I had it done in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Right? Because I bought it.
You and I was saying, you and I have seen that happen constantly in some of the coaching groups we were part of, where somebody will come with an idea of execution, and they're like, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to build this thing. I'm going to build this sequence. I'm going to build this whatever. And then they come back 90 days later. They haven't done shit except talk about building the thing. And then they keep flowing through it. And even if they've made progress towards it, your point is I want all of you guys to hear this. This is why I'm basically saying it again. It's that time value of if you can get it implemented now, utilize. This is leverage. Right? It's arbitrage. It's what banks do. It's why banks are so wealthy, right? Because they've figured out a way to leverage money to make more money. We're talking about the same thing. Now we're leveraging time. Leverage someone else's time that they went and had to spend all this time, energy, and effort doing and building the thing, and they had to prove that it worked if they wanted to create a business off of it, because if it didn't work, they wouldn't be able to sell it because everybody would be like, this is bullshit, it doesn't work. So you're leveraging their time, right? There's a term that you and I talk about a bunch, Shane, right? But it's compressing time. Right. How do you compress time? Well, you have to leverage other people's time. And that doesn't mean time in the moment, but that's literally what you're talking about. Is it's literally leveraging them that they built it. Now I can have this implemented now and start to see the results. Does it cost me money up front? For sure. But when you if you are if not guaranteed, but if you believe in yourself and you know you're never going to quit and you're going to build something, so then you know you have the confidence in you, then you can take that same 5-year window and say, well, was the $5,000, $10,000, $1,400, whatever it is am I going to be able to make that much money up? Well, yeah, obviously, I should be 100x that in the next 5 years.
That's how I started looking at things early in the firm, right? It's like I knew what it cost me to get a client, right? Because you advertise, some of the leads are bad, some are good. Of the good ones, how many are you converting into clients, right? I knew what my cost was, and so I was able to evaluate something and saying, holy cow, this is one client, or this is 2 clients. And you know, at $1,500 back then, it was probably somewhere between 2 and 3 clients, right? Because client acquisition costs were less back then.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is 3 clients. So if over the course of 6 months, I get 3 extra clients, it's paid for itself. Mm-hmm. And I was pretty confident it would do that. So then and I don't want to say it's an easy decision, but you're like, this should work. Mm-hmm. You know, right? I know how many clients I've got to get. If it's only a little bit better and I get 1 more extra client a month, I'm good to go. My investment's paid off tremendously, but also I looked at it as it allowed me to get something in place now that I could then tweak later versus spending 6 months trying to tweak something, come up with the best version. And you and I have talked about this, Trevor. We've run some stuff that we didn't think it was slop. We put out the copy, we put it out, we thought it was pretty good, and then it got nowhere. You know, right? Or it got just weak results or whatever. So you're continually tweaking it. So getting a base in done by a halfway decent copywriter, I think, is better than, you know, you spending time and energy and having no base and taking 6 months to get something on the books moving.
And I think part of that too is figuring out, dude, what is your superpower? Like, what skill set do you have as the owner? Like, all of you guys that are listening, you have different skill sets. Some of you might be really good talkers and you're great on, you know, maybe the sales side of the process. Some of you may not be great at that, right? And you're really good at, you know, empathy and warmth with the client once they're in the space, and you're able to take a client and really lead them. Some of you are not even, you're just amazing on the back end office side and the structure. You're really, but knowing that is going to also help you, because if there's something, a situation on the front side, for let's say that you're not great at that, well, it would be stupid to spend all your time and energy and effort trying to become great at that when there are things out there that you can just speed that time up by jumping in and buying into it then. And same with the backside, right? If you don't understand the backside, there's plenty of CRM companies that will come in and they will train your whole team and they will build the whole thing for you, and it'll be implemented almost immediately. Or you can pull up, you know, Clio or whatever it is and spend weeks and weeks and weeks and still not understand it.
And not do a great job. That's the thing too, right? Like, and I used to talk to my clients sometimes when they're like, hey, Shane, why should I hire you? I can negotiate with the insurance company myself. And I was always like, you're right, you can. And I would usually say, well, what kind of work do you do? Right? And then they'd tell me what it was. And I'd say, and if it was something that wasn't really relevant, I'd always go back to a deck. But I'd be like, so listen, you're an AC repair guy. How long have you been doing that? 10 years. Cool. Is it possible that I could go on YouTube, order a book, stumble through the book, maybe get my AC unit out, maybe find out what's wrong, maybe repair that, find out that's not what's wrong, because what the hell do I know? Mm-hmm. I do this just once a year, or I build a deck, you know, right, once every 15 years or whatever. And do you think at the end of the day, it's going to take me longer to do it? And would I do as good a job as you fixing this AC unit, even if I managed to get it done? He'd be like, well, hell no, Shane. Yeah. What do you know about doing AC units? And I said, well, listen, this is what I do all day long, every day. And my baseline's probably going to be better than yours because it's what I do all day long, every day. How often do you negotiate with insurance companies about a personal injury case? Well, you know, never. But I've done some negotiating. Cool. In this area? No. And then it's like, well, do you know what an AC unit's worth? Do you know what the parts cost? Do you know what everything's worth? They're like, yeah. Do I? Well, no. Could I find some stuff out? Well, maybe. Same for your personal injury. But it's that same basis skill level. I guess you get it in place, you start working on it, and you're probably not ever going to be as good as the expert. Are you going to be good enough? Maybe. But could you just buy it and skip all those steps and get in your system? I mean, lawyers don't need to be accountants. Like, I laugh at small business owners, once they cross a certain amount, like, why are you doing your own taxes, dude? It's not a good use of your time.
You're not an accountant, right? So what are you doing? You're an attorney, and but we all do it. And I think too, I like the term, like, referring to kind of the people in your sphere, not just in your company, but all of your spheres, your team. Yeah. Right. Who do you have on your team? What experts do you have on your team? Right. Who can you call when, like for me, like, I've got a team. Part of my team is the guy who takes care of my yard. He's on my team, and he's really good at it. Now, could I go do it? Yes, I'm not dumb, and I could figure it out. But I've seen some of the tools he brings out, and I don't have those tools. So, so I'm like, well, and there's this one little thing he uses. I don't even know what it's doing. I'm sure it's great, but he does a little thing with it, and I'm like, I don't even. So there's some knowledge base that I don't have, but I don't have to worry about that because he's on my team. Because he's on my team, exactly. And I brought him into the team. Same thing with accounting, doing your numbers, and this includes like some of your personal numbers. Right? So this is like personal books too, like having somebody I'm not an accountant. I don't like numbers like that. I like to make numbers. Like, I like those kind of numbers, and I like to look at those ones. But the rest of them, I'm like, dude, it's not my skill set. It's not my wheelhouse. Taxes? No, thank you. Like, I would poke my eyeballs out. But part of my team, I have an expert that does that for me. So when you're building this, you're building a whole world. But that costs money. Now, I could go become the expert at all those things, which I don't actually think I could. Well, it's funny. I love that you bring up the AC, because we were in a previous show. We were talking about how I just has AC issues in the house, and I went to chat real quick, and I asked it. I'm all, how would I fix this? And it started breaking down this AC language stuff and all this, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, shut up, chat. I'm all done. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, so I called a guy and said, hey, dude, come out here and let me know what you're going to be able to do or whatever. And it was you could tell he was an expert. He came in, looks at the furnace, looks at what I have, and he's like, "Oh, this is what we need to do." He's able to do this, and he did it in dumb term for me. Yeah. So he didn't use like AC terms. He did it in like layman's terms, and so he gave it, and I was like, "Okay, great." And then he told me when he could come out and fix it. And I'm like, "Okay, well that sucks because it's July right now and it's really hot. So temporarily, I'm going to go buy a portable unit. We're going to put it in that sliding glass door, but." He's an expert. I don't have to deal with it, right? I'm not going to actually try to fix and solve that problem.
And if you listen to our last episode, you realize Trevor did not do as good a job as the expert did, because it doesn't visually and aesthetically, it's probably not appropriate for his house.
It does not matter. If I lived in a trailer, it would be perfect. Like, it would be awesome, because duct tape, baling twine, and cardboard, those exist in the trailers. Those should be there. Where I live, that doesn't make sense. But
so go. A lot of things you can do, but you probably shouldn't do, right?
And 100%.
And we used to tell people this are about cutting your own yard all the time, right? Like, you can cut it, but if it takes you 2 hours to cut your yard, and you bill $250 an hour, $150 an hour, or we'll even say you're billing $100 an hour. That's $200. Is that what it costs that's what it costs you to mow your yard. Could you work at the firm and make more than $200? Or could you outsource that to a teenage kid for $50 and you make $150 on the spread? There's...
And when that logic never goes away, no matter what it is. And I think that's the evaluation that really helps you determine what is my time worth, and what am I willing to invest in to have implemented now for the future payout of actual growth. And here's what I'll tell you. All of you guys who get on the fence on, well, I can just do it myself. Why would I pay for someone to do this? Especially when it comes to inside your firm. If that is your mindset, you're stuck. You have a blockage that's going to stop you. The likelihood, if you don't shift that mindset of you building a $10 million, $20 million, $30 million law firm, is almost zero. It's almost zero. Like, I'm not saying you couldn't be the unicorn that has that type of a mindset that can build, but I've been doing this a long time. And if you don't have the understanding that I must invest today to buy time, so I can buy my time to compress time for the future, you flat out won't live long enough with that mindset to become the expert you're trying to become in all these areas, that you can just do it yourself, and you just won't, it won't happen. Right.
Well, and I would balance it out. Like, even if somehow you manage to do it all, you're not going to be happy because you're going to have no time.
Yeah.
I mean, period. You're gonna save some money, but you're gonna have no time. I mean, and
18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're divorced. You're raging alcoholic, popping pills in the morning to get yourself away. Like, you and I both, Shane, have watched that happen. Yeah. And so yeah, you're right. You can do it if death at 40 is your plan.
And you want to burn down your family, right? But
yeah, so that sounds like a great idea. Let's go down that road. That seems like a good choice. Let's choose that. So I don't know. So yeah. So
we're ending on a real happy note, which is everything's got a cost, and the cost is either time or money, energy. And I think the thing we leave our listeners with is, evaluate something like that, because your time is valuable. I'd say as a lawyer, or a busy professional, your time is actually very valuable. And there's an argument made that everyone's time is very valuable. But I mean, there's always there's a cost associated with everything, time or money. And you just have to make an intelligent, informed decision on it, I think.
Nope. Just assess it. Don't go into it blind, and you're good. So appreciate you guys being listeners of today's show. Do us a huge favor. We really appreciate it. In order for this show to grow, we rely on you to share it up with somebody else who's also going to get value. So please do that. Share the show to somebody you know that needs to hear this, right? Maybe they're on the fence of some type of an investment or some product they're going to buy that's going to help them grow, but they're like, it's $1,400. I don't know if that's worth it. And give them this might be the show to push them over the edge that actually helps them change the mindset to help them grow. So appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week.